there's just like a sense of calmness I feel going onto the field, actually. Feels magical, feels like home. And it just feels very connected community, like we all have each other's back. Wow. And I think to your point, Emirates there's been some magic going on every time we've been there.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Women's Game. We are so lucky to have so many incredible interviews coming out this week, including from players heading to Lisbon for the Champions League final on Saturday. I cannot get over that I'm here in person at Arsenal's training facility and sitting down with these players during what might be one of the biggest weeks of their careers. Today, I am with one of the world's best defenders and a TWG regular at this point, USA Olympic gold medalist and Arsenal defender, the one and only Emily Fox from America. Foxy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I can't let the nickname go. I love it so much. Every time I refer to you now, I say Emily Fox from America.
I know, that was quite an intro.
Okay, Foxy, you are about to compete for Champions League glory in a final that is sure to be the biggest game of the year. I'm so excited to be here with you right now because when we spoke in the fall, you told me that this tournament was a big reason why you came here to play for Arsenal. And now we're sitting here talking about being in the final. Mm-hmm. What's one word to describe how you feel?
Surreal. That would be it. I think too, with like having all these preseason interviews kind of manifested in a sense to where I am now, being in the final, like it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
But yeah, super excited.
Can you tell us a little bit, if people who didn't listen to our interview from last fall, tell them a little bit about like why Champions League means so much to you and why now being here in the final is surreal? It's
such a prestigious tournament and it's so different from the US, and growing up I always watched it from afar, and now being a part of it, being in Europe, it's such a roller coaster of a tournament and year being in Champions League. You never really know what is going to happen, and I think our journey too has been very up and down in Champions League, but with that we've had so many highs and lows, and coming back from Bayern, from Real Madrid, from Lyon, it's just been such an experience when you have that struggle and then you fight back and you're able to get it in the second leg. So.
I know, it kind of just feels like it's all gonna come together for you guys. We're gonna get into all of these ups and downs that you're talking about. I wanna go back in time for our listeners who are maybe just jumping in or fans of Arsenal who wanna relive every moment of this wild journey. When we last spoke, it was right before you started this Champions League campaign with the club. You were obviously very excited, but it was a moment of uncertainty for Arsenal. The team was having a tough time finding their footing in the domestic league, the Women's Super League, and your first game of the Champions League group stage was a 5-2 loss against Bayern, as you just mentioned. Shortly after, head coach Jonas Eidevall actually resigned, and there were still so many games to go, not just in Champions League, but in the regular season as well. How did the team rally together in the locker room in that moment, understanding you were about to go through this transition from a coaching perspective? Were there any players who really stepped up and kind of brought the group together during that time of uncertainty?
I mean, I really think it was a collective, and we have such amazing players and staff, and I think all of us knew that we had such a long journey to go, like you just said, and so leaning on each other, focusing on what we can control, and then, with football, you have 2 days to respond and to show what you have. So with that, we knew making a statement, with the next games that we had was going to be so important.
Definitely. Well, so shortly after, assistant coach Renée Slegers was appointed interim coach, and it kind of felt like a switch was flipped. The team went on a 7-game undefeated streak in the WSL, won their next 5 matches in the Champions League group stage, and secured their spot in the quarterfinals. I know Renée was obviously really familiar with the team. She was the assistant coach before she became interim head coach, and she'd actually trained herself here at Arsenal's academy. From a player perspective, what was the transition like having Renée take over, and what was her messaging like to the team in those early days?
I mean, like you said, Renée has been in every position and situation possible on the field, just in terms of being injured, national team, Arsenal, like you said, having a family while being in football. So I think having her as a head coach, she has so much perspective and experience. And like you said, with the beginning stages, for her, it was more about consistency and not changing too much so that our, heads aren't all over the place. And I think with that consistency, we were able to find our footing, like you said, with the 7 games. Renée has been amazing, and I'm so happy for her that she's done so well. And can't wait for the final and for the years to come with her.
Yeah, when the club was struggling like that, and then you have this transition, and you're starting to win all these games, what is that like emotional shift like? When did you realize you think that things were turning around?
I want to say if I had to pick a game, I want to say United away. And I think you feel it on the field in terms of like everyone clicking, being on the same page. Things feel easy even when they're not, and you're probably dying out of breath and whatnot. But yeah, I think, as you said, being an assistant coach, she always was a strong, steady force. And then stepping up as a head coach, I feel like she did it very effortlessly. And again, really leaned on her support staff and Aaron and all the amazing staff that we have.
So in January, amidst all the success, Renée was made permanent head coach. And I was thinking back to our conversation in the fall, and I remember you saying that something that really drew you to Arsenal was the way that they were invested in the women's game. And obviously just having Renée in a position in the coaching staff to be able to step up and become head coach, I think speaks to Arsenal investing in women. How have you seen the club empowering women in the staff as well as the players?
I mean, I think Renée is probably the epitome of an example of that. I also think having Mel and her stepping up into, even now more of a leadership role and really helping us in terms of scouting, training sessions and whatnot. I even think, going to our kitchen staff, Sue, and just the impact that she has on all of us that you don't know about until it's an off day and you don't see her smiling, giving you a hug, those little things. So I think, like you said, the women's game and even our fans and just being able to play at the Emirates, those are obviously the big things, but then there's the little things like having staff members like Sue and those kind of people.
I need to know more about Sue. Is Sue the chef?
She co-chef, more so.
Okay.
Dana's our chef.
Okay.
But no, Sue helps plate everything, tables, any question you have, she'll answer it. But yeah, she's like our constant in the sense of when I explain like a roller coaster of a season, I feel like she's, a constant in the sense of always smiling, giving hugs, making the environment, pleasant, happy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You have to meet her.
I would literally love to meet Sue. That sounds amazing.
Sue.
I honestly really love that. I think that the support staff in so many ways can be that role, that constant of what they bring and the energy that they provide the team can be something the team relies on whether they're performing on the field or not. Another thing you have said to me about what you were excited about the Champions League, and I'll quote you said the craziness and the madness. And I feel like in the group stage alone, we got craziness and madness. So
we did.
Coming out of the group stage, had this tournament already lived up to your expectations?
In a sense, yes. I was like, this is
This
craziness
is crazy.
and madness. You say it, the words come out, but then you live it. You're like, wow, this is a lot. But then I got more of it after the group stages. So I think my threshold is now very high.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
And we still have one more game. So who knows what can happen.
I know, you do still have one more game. I am so excited to get to that. Do you think that you had to make any adjustments between playing in the WSL, in your domestic league, and the Champions League? Tactically, is Champions League different? Physically, maybe? Like, what are some adjustments that you've made as a player?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Champions League, you're playing the best teams across Europe, and each league does have different styles of play and strengths and weaknesses. So I think for me, it's been great just in terms of playing against different people and top players across the world and Europe. I do think with Champions League, there is a bit more of that unpredictability. I think of Lyon just capitalizing on every opportunity. They get one fraction of a chance and they take it, and it's 1-0, for instance. So I do think that was a big difference in terms of that in the WSL, for sure.
Now we're going back in time again. You're done with the group stage, and there's a few months gap between the group stages and the quarterfinals, and you're playing in the WSL and some other domestic cups here in England. There's been a lot of talk this season about the grueling schedule of games for players between domestic and international games, as well as league and tournament play. And we've seen a few other players, including Viv Miedema at Man City, who've spoken about how the schedule is just really, really dense. It can lead to injuries. And we've seen some injuries affect Arsenal as well. How have you been taking care of yourself mentally and physically during such a grueling run of games?
That's a great question. That's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
I would say, just in terms of you're never going to always get it right. I think you try different things and see what works. For me, I think off the field, it's doing what I need to do to relax. And then little moments of like family visiting, friends visiting, taking those moments and stepping away from football, I think is really important for me. But then in turn with Arsenal, I feel like we really do have a lot of support in terms of recovery and feeling fresh and all that. And so I've really leaned into that, especially as I'm getting older, focusing on the recovery, the rehab, nutrition, all the things. But yeah, it is very difficult. And I do think, having, for example, the Christmas break is so important. And even, I know a lot of players won't have a summer break with the Euros. So again, with my ongoing process, I think as a whole, it's an ongoing process of how it can be better.
Okay, back to Champions League for the quarterfinal, and you've mentioned this already a few times. You're slated to play Real Madrid, a top-tier Spanish team, and Spanish teams are typically known for their technicality on the ball and ability to manipulate defenses with short passing and clever ball movement. What were your first thoughts as a defender when you drew Real Madrid for the quarterfinal?
Exactly what you said. I mean, we knew that they had really talented players. Caicedo, for example, it was going to be really difficult for me in terms of defending, and also that unpredictability of the Spanish league and what's going to happen. But again, just a challenge, and that's why I'm here. I think when I get that kind of nervous, oh, it's going to be a tough game, it's this is why I'm here. So let's bring it.
Yeah. When you say that, you want the challenge because you know it's going to make you a better player.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you get nervous about stepping up in those moments to perform, or do you feel internal self-confidence?
I always get nervous every game, even if it's an inter squad or scrimmage. There's always some nervousness going on, but for me, it's because I care, and I think that's a good thing. So I think with the nerves, I'm always gonna have them. But to your point, I know why I'm here. This is why I'm here. Let's do it. That's my mentality.
Attitude. That's awesome. Okay, so a quick review for listeners at home. The quarterfinals have 2 legs, so there's a home game and an away game, and the total score is aggregated across both matches. Before the tournament, we talked a little bit about how cool it is to get to play in some of these incredible European cities. Your first semifinal game was in Madrid, and you've mentioned even, taking some moments away from football. Did you get to explore Madrid at all, or did you just have to be totally locked into the game?
My exploration includes getting a coffee, walking and getting a coffee, and then walking back to the hotel.
That's what you've seen of Madrid.
Yes.
I can relate to that. So that first game, that was away. You guys lost 2-0. That was obviously not an ideal start. But it meant that going into the next round, you didn't just need to win, but you needed to win by at least 3 goals. But you're coming back to London. You're coming back to Emirates Stadium. And Emirates Stadium has been such a weapon for you guys. Honestly, I think it's been a key part of this team's identity in recent years. For people who have never been to a game at the Emirates, I want to know how you would describe the energy, especially in such an important Champions League game when you're down by 2. What was the energy like?
There's just a sense of calmness I feel going onto the field, actually. Feels magical. Feels like home. And it just feels very connected community. We all have each other's back. Wow. And I think to your point, Emirates there's been some magic going on every time we've been there.
That is really cool to hear you say that. Your first word was that there's a sense of calm. And I don't know if that's just you, but it does kind of feel like there's something so special happening between you and your fans who are watching you play there, where you're sharing something that maybe the rest of us wouldn't be able to see. I would see a Champions League record-breaking crowd of more than 22,000 people, and I wouldn't think calm. But the fact that you're going into this game feeling that way, you were able to put 1, 2, and a third goal away, a brace from Alessia Russo, another big goal from Mariona Caldente. I'm curious, did you feel calm still as 1 goal went in, 2 goals went in, and you started thinking oh, we're coming back, we might actually win?
I want to say yes, did feel that way. And I think you feel the momentum change. And to your point, we have game changers on our team and people that can in an instant make things happen. And so I think when you have that trust, you have the Emirates, you have the fans, it's more of a matter when, not if. That's how I felt.
That's such an incredible thing to hear. Obviously, you guys didn't just need to score. You had to hold Real Madrid off from scoring, and you're on the back line, you're defending. How do you think that you used the energy, the calmness from Emirates Stadium? How do you think you sustained that whole game, scoring 3 goals and maintaining your back line, maintaining the shutout?
You know, with the national team, we talk about it like the back 4 are a unit with the goalkeeper and the 6s as well. So I think doing our job, knowing our role, and knowing that if I'm doing my job, like I expect the same from everyone else. And yeah, just being locked in the whole 90, 120 minutes, whatever we got.
What's your relationship like with the rest of the back line on the field?
When it clicks, just on the same page, knowing each other's movements, communicating, and again, just that sense of I'll cover for you, I have your back. If you go, I'll go with you.
Do you have any special bonds with anybody in the back line off the field?
I would say yes. Yeah, I do. I do have those bonds.
With who?
I'll give you some examples. We have a nice little watch party for The Last of Us TV show.
Nice. I watch The Last of Us too.
Oh.
You guys watch that together every week?
Every Monday.
Oh my gosh.
Tonight.
It's tonight?
Yeah.
How fun. Who goes to that?
It's a little group.
Okay.
Steph, Beth, and then the 2 dogs and myself.
Oh my gosh.
So actually
cute.
a big group.
Very cute.
Yeah.
No spoilers for The Last of Us, obviously, for anybody at home, but it's been really good this season.
The second episode, I was like,
I know.
I don't know if I want to watch this next week.
I said the same thing. I was like, I think I might be done. But I'm not. I love it.
But then they've turned it around.
Yeah.
The last 2 have been like really exciting. So
you like forget in between seasons. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent now. But you forget in between seasons how much every episode like gets your heart rate up, and you're so invested.
yeah.
Okay, we love The Last of Us. Okay, so the quarterfinals are behind us now. You're preparing for the semifinals against Lyon. Lyon are no pushover, 8-time Champions League winners, just a perennial powerhouse. This time you started the 2-leg semifinal at home at the Emirates in front of almost twice as many people, like 40,000 this time. You lost this game 2-1, which meant you would need to come back again away from home in the second leg. What kind of conversations was your team having after this match? Do you think there was just a core belief that you could come back again because you had done it before?
Yes. Yeah. And I think too, with that first game at home, we didn't capitalize on our chances, and again, they had a few chances and like you said, powerhouse. So I think for us, we left feeling like we could have won it if we had done better. And so with that, it's more like, how can we prove that? How can we show that? Those are just words. How do we make it actionable?
So my next question is like, obviously you come back again, you win this game against Lyon, you forced an own goal early in the game, and then it just kind of felt like the game really opened up for you. Mariona Caldente made it 2-0 before the half. Alessia Russo opened the second half with a big goal. Caitlin Ford sealed the deal with her own goal. It was a team effort, a 4-1 win. The aggregate was 5-3. You secure a spot in the Champions League final, and I think my question is like, this comeback felt like this emotional team chemistry kind of win, more so than a tactical one to me. I think you guys outplayed Lyon in that game, but I'm curious the emotions from your team in that game and how it felt to be on this wave of we're coming back and we're going to the Champions League final. Like, talk us through maybe the second half and what you were feeling.
I mean, again, going to Lyon, not having the Emirates, having to win, we knew it was going to be different than the Real Madrid game, like you were saying. So I think we knew after the first half we needed more, and we needed more momentum. It wasn't good enough, I think, in the sense that if we wanted to win and like really seal the deal, we needed to keep going. So really second half, not much changed, but I think just that sense of you guys are not going to get a sniff. You're not going to get anything. And how can we be alert, be focused the full 45 we had, and really capitalize and take it home.
The story of this team in this tournament is really incredible, but it's obviously not over yet. It all comes down to this final game on Saturday. You've had this incredible comeback story this year. You're playing Barcelona, who are the reigning champions. They've cruised through the tournament. They beat Chelsea definitively twice. What kind of play are you expecting from Barcelona?
I mean, the same that they've done the whole season. Like you said, they've done so well and are such a successful team, and we know how good they are and the players that they have. So we have a lot of respect for them. Definitely coming in there hungry, but also knowing that it's a final and that anything can happen, and that, as we've talked about this entire time, we've had a roller coaster of a season, but in big moments we have proven that we can do it. So I think just a lot of excitement and ready for it.
Another part of the reason you told me you wanted to come play for Arsenal was because you wanted to learn and grow as a player. I think we've seen so many American players wanting to come to Europe to have this experience. Are there any lessons you've picked up, particularly from this Champions League run, from your coaches or your teammates or even the teams that you've played against, that you know you'll be taking with you?
Yes. I mean, the biggest one that comes to mind is, again, like any chance, any sniff, like people will capitalize. And the importance as a defender to be locked in the entire time, because anything can happen. And then with that, I think home crowd, home advantage, how can you capitalize on that? Have learned that a lot. Yeah, just being able to shift. It's like with the national team from, club to national team and then club to Champions League. It is a little bit different. So how can you quickly get into that slightly different mindset to be ready for the games?
Okay, we've talked so much about Arsenal on the field, what this club has accomplished this season. Before I let you go, I was hoping that you could maybe tell us about a moment off the field that has kind of captured what this journey with your teammates has been like through Champions League and through this season.
I mean, I think the little moments, like the bus rides, the travel on the plane. I mean, we've had a few times on the plane with people taking the mic and singing, and all of us singing along with them.
Is there a go-to song?
Well, Nae's the one that sings. So she'll just get after it, and it's amazing. But no, I would say, I mean, for the most part, the entire season, we haven't had a lot of time to like celebrate off the field and have those moments, and I think they're so important. I do think having the 2 weeks, and after our last home game, we did have that chance at the Emirates, and it was so nice to have each other and then also family and friends, and then you just kind of see bigger picture and how many people are connected and involved with the team. And then, yeah, I think seeing people in a different light in terms of, oh, they're a sister, they're a mom, they're a friend. Yeah. Making it more emotional right now. But it's just, I think that's really special. Yeah. I like that probably the most when I think of our team and, it being a family and just all the sacrifices people make in terms of being far from home, being a mom. All that.
Yeah, for sure. I actually love that, and I think it sheds even more light and gives more weight to the importance of the game Saturday to try to win alongside these people that are not just your teammates, but they're somebody to everybody in their family as well. I also just wanted to say I really love what you said about the way you're learning here and growing as a player. I think that the transitions you're making back and forth between the domestic league, Champions League, the national team are all so valuable. And the lessons you've said that you've learned, I can see you taking with you into the national team. And of course, as a U.S. Women's National Team fan, I'm really excited for your future there as well. So I'm going to be rooting for you on Saturday. I'm really, really excited. And it was so great to catch up today.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks, Fox.
Appreciate it.